this is C.L.S. All-in-One, and today we're going to be changing the oil on a 2014 Camaro V6. Most Camaros are already pretty low to the ground to start with, but on my car I have ground effects which makes it even lower. So my car literally only has a couple inches of clearance in the front, and I cannot fit a jack up here, it's too low. So what I'm going to do is elevate the back of the car first by putting it on ramps, and that'll give me clearance to get a jack underneath the front. So I'm going to use a set of ramps at the back here. I got much more clearance, the back bumper is a lot higher. So we're going to put these ramps right up against the tires and then back up on them so we get the car more elevated. So it's very crucial to remember after you get your car on the ramps to set your emergency brake, because when you go to jack up the front, your car could roll forward and smash you. Make sure your emergency brake gets set. Now we have the car elevated enough to fit a jack up front here. Before it was too low and I didn't have enough clearance to get my jack underneath. But now we do. And when jacking up the car, I like to make sure that I'm jacking up on the main part of the unibody frame, which is located right here. Then once it's jacked up, go ahead and place a jack stand in that same area. Now we're going to lower the car to where it's making contact with the jack stand. Now that it's making contact with the jack stand, we're just going to barely put pressure back on the jack, and we're just going to leave this jack in place. Now we have enough clearance under the car to change the oil. But before we do that, you want to make sure you put on a pair of latex gloves because it's about to get messy. So the oil drain plug is located right here. So this is what we're going to be taking off to drain the oil. And I'm going to be using a ratchet with a 15mm socket on it. So we're going to get our pan in place, and we're going to start loosening this bolt. Once it gets loose enough, you should just be able to take this off by hand. So this is why you want to make sure you're wearing gloves. As you're loosening this, oil is going to start spilling out of there. And you don't want to get that on your hands. Now there's going to be some pressure behind this oil, so you might have to hold the oil pan up a little bit to make sure you catch it. You want to make sure your bolt stays nice and clean and doesn't get any dirt on it also. Okay, we're going to go ahead and let this drain all the way, and we're going to go back up top and start changing the oil filter. Now it's time to change the oil filter. I'll be using a ratchet with a 15/16 socket. So the oil filter is located right here next to your oil fill cap. It's just below it. So here's a look at it right here, and this is what we're going to be turning to loosen it. Right here. You'll probably need to use an extension to get past the engine cover here. It's a pretty tight fit. And once you get it loose enough with the ratchet, you'll be able to loosen the rest by hand. The oil filter is a pretty tight fit in here, so you may have to lift up on the cover here to pull it out. So we got the oil filter all out. Here's a look at it. Now this is different than most oil filters. Instead of replacing the whole canister and everything, you actually just replace the inside of it. And that's this part right here. Now in addition to the filter here that we're going to be replacing, there's also an O-ring that's located right here. And that's what seals this to the car. Now, being this is a newer car, I'm not going to replace this O-ring yet. I'd recommend you replace this O-ring every other oil change. So to change this filter, we simply just pull it out and put your new one in. This one can go either direction, it doesn't matter. So we're just going to pop that in there and seat it on there, and you're done. So now we're ready to put this back in the car. And before you put it back in the car, you want to make sure that this O-ring right here is nice and lubricated. If you've wiped it off and it's dry, you want to make sure you go ahead and put a little bit of oil on this ring and lubricate it. Otherwise it'll end up sticking next time you take it off and rip the gasket. So we're going to be lining up the hole of this filter with the hole in the bottom of this. And that's the housing that already exists on the car. So you want to make sure to keep this nice and centered as you drop it in there so it lines up with the hole. So once you've hand tightened the oil filter, we're going to go ahead and tighten it back up with a ratchet here. And we don't want to get too carried away and over tighten it. Just get it nice and snug there, and we should be good. Now it's time to go underneath the car and put the oil plug back in. Okay, we're putting our oil plug back in. Once again, we're just going to start with hand tightening it. And we're not going to get too carried away tightening this, or we could strip the bolt. We're just going to get it nice and snug. And that should be good. So now it's time to go ahead and drag this oil pan out from underneath the car. Be careful not to spill it. And we're going to go up top and add some oil. So the oil fill cap is going to be located right here. So we're going to go ahead and open this up. So it's time to add some oil. My car uses 5W30 and it takes 6 quarts. We're going to start with putting 5 quarts in, and then we're going to take it off the ramps and get it level, and then we're going to add the rest after that to make sure we have the proper level. You want to make sure you have a nice clean funnel and that there's no debris in there that'll get inside your engine. And make sure you have a rag handy nearby in case you spill any, you can wipe it up right away. So you want to start pouring it slow to make sure you don't spill any out of there. Now that we got the 5 quarts in there, we're going to go ahead and put the cap back on. And now it's time to go ahead and lower the car. So now we're going to go ahead and jack up the front of the car barely a little bit so we can get our jack stand out. And now we're going to slowly lower the car. And now we're going to drive it off the ramps. So we let the car run for about 45 seconds, and then we let it sit for about a minute. Now it's time to go ahead and top off the oil and get the oil level correct. So the dipstick's located right here. So this is what we're going to use to be checking the engine oil level. So we're going to go ahead and pull this out. And go ahead and wipe it off. So we want the oil level to be right in between these crosshatches. There's one here and one set here. We want it to be right in the middle of them. So it's just barely showing at the end of the dipstick here. We need to add more oil until it's in between these crosshatches. So I've added about 3/4 of this quart, and I'm going to go ahead and check the level again to make sure we're safe. So the oil level is just below the halfway mark now, so we need to add just a little bit more. So we're going to go ahead and put the rest of the quart in there, and then the engine oil should be at the perfect level. Now we got the oil level right there, and it's perfect. So we can go ahead and put our dipstick back in. And our oil cap on. All right, we got the oil change done now. The only thing left to do now is reset the oil life inside the car. So let's go inside the car and we'll get that reset. So you want to go ahead and turn the car on. All right, we're inside the car now, and what we need to do is push the menu button until it says Vehicle Information Menu. Once on that, you're going to select up or down with this until you get to the oil life remaining part. There it is right there. Now you're going to push Set Clear to reset. So you're going to push in on the end of this to reset it. Are you sure you want to reset? Select up, and then you're going to push Set again. Now it's going to be 100%. Well, that's all. Thanks for watching. This is C.L.S. All in One. If you want to hear more from me, please subscribe.